Sing, O muse of the wrath of Achilles. These immortal words open Homer's Iliad, a foundational text that has captivated audiences for millennia. The Trojan War, a legendary conflict between the Greeks and the Trojans, has been immortalized in literature, art, and archaeology. The story is filled with legendary heroes, divine interventions, and epic battles, yet it remains shrouded in mystery when it comes to historical accuracy. But how much of it is true? Let's explore the intersection of myth and reality by analyzing archaeological evidence, historical interpretations, and the cultural impact of the Trojan War legend. The primary sources for the Trojan War are Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, which, despite their poetic embellishments, shaped the way generations perceived the conflict. The Iliad focuses on the war's final year, depicting the quarrel between Achilles and Agamemnon, the valor of Hector, and the eventual fall of Troy. Meanwhile, the Odyssey recounts Odysseus's long and perilous journey home after the war, providing further insight into the consequences of the conflict. Virgil's Aeneid, written centuries later, reinterprets the Trojan War from the perspective of the defeated Trojans. The epic follows Aeneas, a Trojan prince who escapes the city's destruction and embarks on a journey that leads to the founding of Rome. This Roman perspective altered the perception of the war, portraying the Trojans not as mere victims, but as forebearers of a new civilization. The war's origins lie in the judgment of Paris, a fateful decision by the Trojan prince Paris, who awarded a golden apple to Aphrodite over Hera and Athena. In return, Aphrodite promised him the most beautiful woman in the world, Helen of Sparta. Helen's subsequent abduction or elopement with Paris enraged her husband, King Menelaus, and led to a Greek expedition to reclaim her, led by Agamemnon, king of Mycenae. Throughout the war, legendary heroes such as Achilles, Hector, Odysseus, and Ajax fought in battles that were as much about personal glory as strategic conquest. The gods and goddesses of Olympus played an integral role, taking sides and directly intervening in the conflict. The war saw tragic events, including Achilles' wrath following the death of his companion Patroclus, Hector's honorable yet doomed resistance, and the deception of the Trojan Horse, the cunning stratagem that led to Troy's ultimate fall. The war's conclusion marked the ruin of Troy, yet its aftermath was equally significant. The surviving Greeks faced cursed journeys home, as seen in the Odyssey, while the Trojan survivors, led by Aeneas, sought refuge elsewhere. The myth thus transcended the war itself, influencing entire civilizations. In the 19th century, German archaeologist Heinrich Schliemann embarked on excavations at Hisarlik in modern-day Turkey, identifying it as the site of ancient Troy. Schliemann's discoveries included remnants of city walls, fortifications, and gold artifacts, which he enthusiastically attributed to Homer's Troy. However, his methods were often criticized for their lack of scientific rigor, and he may have destroyed valuable historical layers in his eagerness to unearth Troy. Subsequent excavations by Wilhelm Dörpfeld and Carl Blegen refined our understanding of the site. They discovered that Troy was a multi-layered settlement, with at least 9 distinct phases of occupation, some showing signs of destruction. The most likely candidate for Homeric Troy appears to be Troy 7, which dates to the late Bronze Age and exhibits evidence of violent destruction. The presence of large fortifications, weapons, and signs of destruction at Troy 7 suggests that it was a significant and well-defended city that experienced conflict. Furthermore, Hittite records from the same period mention a city called Wilusa, which many scholars believe is the historical Troy. These records also refer to conflicts with a group called the Ahiyawa, potentially the Mycenaean Greeks, lending some credibility to the idea of a historical Trojan War. While there is no definitive proof of a single decade-long war as described in Homer's epics, the evidence suggests that Troy was indeed involved in conflicts with Mycenaean Greeks, possibly over trade routes, territorial control, or political dominance. The archaeological record indicates that a war or series of conflicts likely took place in the region during the late Bronze Age. Despite these discoveries, the challenge remains in connecting mythological accounts with historical events. The layers of Troy do not provide conclusive evidence of a single catastrophic event that aligns perfectly with Homer's narrative. Furthermore, much of what we know about the Trojan War comes from poetic sources composed centuries after the supposed events, making it difficult to separate fact from literary invention. The Trojan War narrative likely originated from historical conflicts, passed down through oral tradition and altered over time. Poetic embellishments and cultural influences transformed facts into grand mythology. The tradition of oral poetry meant that bards would modify and expand upon the stories, adding divine elements, dramatic monologues, and larger-than-life heroes. Over centuries, these tales became deeply embedded in Greek identity and were eventually written down by Homer. Troy represents themes of ambition, war, and divine influence. The story serves as a cautionary tale about hubris, loyalty, and the consequences of deceit and vengeance. The war itself is a metaphor for the clash of civilizations, the unpredictability of fate, and the interplay between human agency and divine will. Historians and scholars attempt to bridge the gap between myth and history, re-examining texts, archaeological data, and linguistic evidence to reconstruct possible realities behind the legend. Some see the Trojan War as an amalgamation of multiple conflicts, while others believe it was a localized skirmish that gained mythic status over time. The myth of Troy played a crucial role in shaping Greek identity, reinforcing ideals of heroism, honor, and fate. Greek warriors saw themselves as heirs to the heroic age, using Homeric values to define their own military and political ethos. The war also served as a reminder of divine intervention and the transient nature of human power. The Trojan War has inspired countless works, from ancient vase paintings to Renaissance art, and modern films like Troy, 2004. Literary retellings, such as Madeline Miller's The Song of Achilles, keep the legend alive. The themes of betrayal, war, and resilience continue to resonate with audiences worldwide. The war's themes, deception, Trojan Horse, pride, Achilles and Agamemnon's feud, and the tragedy of war, remain relevant. The story serves as a reminder of the cyclical nature of human conflict and ambition. It underscores the dangers of unchecked pride, the cost of vengeance, and the devastation that war brings to both victors and the vanquished. The Trojan War is where myth and history intertwine, creating a narrative that has captivated audiences for centuries. Whether rooted in reality or legend, the war's legacy persists as a cultural touchstone that bridges the past and present, continuing to inspire and provoke thought about the nature of conflict, heroism, and fate.